Okay. David, is
Okay.
that showing on your end?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yep.
No, we have other guests. Would they like to introduce themselves, please?
I'm Judy Richards. On various chairs, and I'm an advocate for people with disabilities and for working in the community to better the services for our children.
Okay. Candace? Okay, then we'll go ahead and I need an adoption of the agenda.
So moved, Commissioner Mayor.
Okay. Need a second?
Commissioner Adams. Second.
Okay.
Ruth, I believe I may have missed the discussion. Were we going to be talking about the strategic plan today?
You've asked to have that added, right? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so then, Mary, we need to adjust your adoption of it because of adding the strategic plan.
So let me say this. Let me revise my motion and say I move to adopt the agenda with the inclusion of the strategic plan discussion.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes. And George, you second that yet?
I second.
Okay.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, thank you. Review and approval of the prior month's minutes.
I move to approve, Commissioner Mayor.
And Marcia Wenzel, I will second the motion.
Okay. Any discussions or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And that was Marcia?
No, I did not oppose.
Oh, who said aye on oppose?
Everybody was going so fast. I was trying to say aye.
Oh, okay, George. Thank you. Okay, announcements.
This is Commissioner Wenzel. I would like to bring up, I guess I have 2 points. Regarding agency with change, with choice, excuse me. There, the it was passed by the legislature, but it seems that many of the legislators do not have a correct concept of what Home Care Commission actually does. I'm hearing that some legislators thought that this bill would help make things better for nursing homes. Doesn't even apply to that. And so they've voted on something that is not a reality, or they voted without a complete understanding. And it's really vital that they understand precisely what the commission does. So also, uh, we did not have, speaking for the commission, didn't have adequate time to um, speak, to voice what we do, because um, this agency with choice kind of came in very rapidly, and before we had a chance to to voice. Anyway, I think Bruce can fill you in with some additional points. Could you um, go ahead, Bruce?
Well, after seeing how many of the legislators in that committee didn't understand, I think this has put a very strong emphasis on this commission to get something put together to do an educational piece for legislators as to what is home care and what this commission is all about and why we were set up originally. And so I think this is going to make it a very strong emphasis that we have to get more involved in educating legislators. And this was also picked up in some of our plans for the future. And that we need to let people know who we are and what we do. And this just emphasized the whole thing.
Madam Chair, may I go with my little second point here? Okay. I'm glad to hear we are going to be talking about strategic plan today. I'd like to give you an illustration. I always have to give you guys a picture. So here you go. This is how bad we need a strategic plan. The football season is just past us, but can you imagine that the stadium is filled with the people that in-home care cares for, and they're waiting. They're waiting for us, and we arrive on the football field, and usually there's a huddle, and the coach has a plan, and they huddle together, and they get it all squared away, and then they know what they're going to do. And imagine if there was no huddle and no plan, but we show up at a rack and we're supposed to just participate. Imagine that football team on the field, and they're just standing about randomly, and they don't even have a ball. And where are they going to run to? Which direction? And they'll just won't get anything accomplished. Be lucky if they know which goal they're supposed to be going at. So there ends my picture. We have to get in a huddle and get our strategy. Otherwise, when we're put loose on the field, we won't get anywhere. Thank you.
Any other
Yes, Ms. Chair.
announcement?
Ms. Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams, the announcement I'd like to put forward is I have a charging station idea that had come up, that I had help with down here in Medford, Oregon. And all the funds and stuff is in place. My charging stations have now gone from 36 to now 63 charging stations. We are going to go up to 100 for power chairs within the city of Medford and surrounding areas. And then I'm in connection with a person at ODOT. She's disabled herself, and her and I has been talking. She's going to be with her bosses in ODOT, and she's really wanting to put my idea of charging stations throughout the state of Oregon. So
okay. You keep us abreast of this, please. Please keep us informed of it.
Oh, I will. And I'm also on a commercial. I'm on a commercial ad. It took 2 hours to make it.
Okay,
And then
thank,
once
thank you.
I'll give Jenny and Heidi the link so everybody can see my commercial down
That'd
here.
be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, do we have any public testimony?
We do.
Okay. Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay. Public testimony for March 2024 OHCC meeting. Full disclosure, I am a SEIU Local 503 board member. I am not speaking for the union. Questions in this testimony are not rhetorical and require an answer from the OHCC. After listening to the February 2024 OHCC meeting on the OHCC YouTube channel, I have the following responses. To Commissioner Adams, who said, "Jenny, I know that you do to your best ability." How do you know? What objective measurements are you basing your conclusion on? Just because someone is nice and you like them does not mean they are doing their best. Have you actually reviewed their work? Commissioner Adams needs to respond to the above during this meeting. To Commissioner Johnson, who said they hope I would maintain a professional attitude, let me assure you I am being professional. Using the words incompetent and negligent are not unprofessional. My words may not be nice, but they are true. Sometimes the truth isn't nice to hear, but necessary to hear for improvements to happen. Furthermore, my words can be backed up by evidence. You should be telling the OHCC staff to be more professional so mistakes are not repeated. Also, blaming the problems on systems is easy to do, but it doesn't hold staff accountable. Commissioner Johnson needs to respond to the above during the meeting. To the OHCC Executive Director, Jenny, who said to err is human, I find this comment extremely disturbing because if a home care worker makes a mistake, it is possible someone could die. Mistakes and accidents can be prevented. OHCC Executive Director needs to respond to the above during the meeting. Another huge problem has come to my attention. Because of my role in the union, many workers come to me with questions and problems. Many times I have heard there are not enough home care workers to meet the need. I also hear from home care workers looking for work. The online registry was where consumers could find workers and workers could find consumers. But now Carina replaced the registry. Unfortunately, Carina wasn't populated with the data from the registry. Workers are supposed to sign up and ditto for the consumers. And unfortunately, this isn't happening. Workers can't find work on Carina. Here's a search I conducted for my area, my address whited out. Do you believe there are no consumers looking for workers in Coos County? I have to wonder if this mistake was not intentional. By making things worse, one can claim we need something new to fix it. Could that something new possibly be agency with choice? Does the OHCC and DHS expect every consumer to have internet access and have enough computer savvy to use Carina? The problem I want to bring to your attention is DHS can no longer print out a list of home care workers looking for work to give to consumers. As a computer professional with over 4 decades of experience, I know to always have the option to print available. Someone is responsible for this decision, and that's where the problem lies. They need to be held accountable. Will the OHCC find out who they are and hold them accountable? Yes or no? Will the OHCC find a way to print out the list of home care workers looking for work? OHCC needs to respond to the above during the meeting. I attended the in-person class last week in Eugene, Oregon. Many of my fellow care providers did not understand how the professional development PDC works, and some of them didn't understand how much they would earn when they obtained PDC. Many workers were also confused about taking classes through the OHCC versus taking classes through Carewell. They wanted to know which is mandatory. This shows there is a failure to communicate on the part of the OHCC. Will the OHCC address this situation? When will this be addressed? OHCC needs to respond to the above during this meeting. Time is of the essence. Now that OHCC and DHS have been made aware of their shortcomings and failures in a public meeting, they cannot take the position they did not know. Testimony respectfully submitted by Avery T. Horton Jr., home care worker, citizen, voter, taxpayer, State of Oregon, as always acting in individual capacity. and a testimony. So I
Okay.
can, oh, sorry.
Go, yeah, please, would you please respond?
Yes, so about the Carina registry and printing the list of available home care workers. So even with the OHCC registry, the intention was never to print a list of providers available for referral. The intent of both registries is to match the specific needs of individuals with care providers who can meet those needs. So I can understand why people would want that list. We've also heard that from the local offices, but it kind of gets away from the point of making sure that there's a match based on what that person's looking for. In terms of the PDC certification, there is a brochure about PDC that was recently updated that providers can learn more about PDC, and there's also information on our website. The note about which training to take is mandatory versus our voluntary trainings. The DD Mental Health Committee has actually worked on a visual aid to help workers understand, and that is being finalized by our training committee. And those are my responses.
Okay. And Paul, do you have a response to his part?
My response would be I have no comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any other public testimony?
Ms. Chair, to the response to was directed to me, I have no response either.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Then let's move on to the Governor's Commission on Senior Services. Mary, what do you have for us?
Okay, Madam Chair, we met on the 8th of February for our last meeting, and I just wanted to emphasize two highlights. The first was a presentation by Rachel Currens Henry, who is the Health and Human Services Advisor to the Office of the Governor. And she gave us an overview of the governor's administration updates and areas in which the governor is emphasizing. Mostly houselessness and suicides and what's the other? Anyway, and then the second one was that Fred Steele, the state long-term care ombudsman, also gave a very good presentation. And rather than go into any detail, we just received copies of both of those presentations from Adam, who is our executive director. And so right after this meeting, I will send copies of both of those presentations to Heidi, and hopefully she can spread them to all the members of the commission. And that is my report.
That was my next question to you is, can we get copies? So you answered the question.
I'm sorry I didn't get it to you ahead of time, but it's been kind of a zooey schedule lately.
Okay, the Oregon Disabilities Commission.
No, just to report that our next full meeting is March 14th. I'll have a report next
Okay.
Next month.
Thank you. Okay. What about 04AD? Is Robin on?
Randy is on.
Or Randy? Yeah.
Randy, are you on mute? She was in the meeting. I believe she had to leave.
Okay, we'll come back.
Sorry, she was in the meeting, but if she comes back, I'll let you know.
Aging and people with disabilities. Paul?
Well, good morning, everyone. I would just give a brief update that, or a announcement that the GrandPad contract with the new GrandPad offering, now that the pilot has ended, is now been released. People are signing up, or they are case managers, better said, are sending in the requests for consumers, in-home consumers who qualify based on the guidelines in the transmittal regarding the GrandPad service are beginning to sign up. So we're starting to see those come in. That's exciting because we have a 2-year contract and hope that the maximum number of in-home consumers can take who qualify, again, can take advantage of the GrandPad. So that's an exciting development. More to come, possibly. If you have any questions, I can answer those as well. And I know Matt will be with us today, I believe, and we'll be discussing OPIM, and so that'll be an important discussion as well. Otherwise, there's a lot going on in APD these days, especially with some of the legislation that you folks are aware of that is being discussed, and maybe preparations made if indeed some of these issues pass that will greatly affect our division, APD. So, but that's all I have at this point to share, just an update on the GrandPad.
Paul?
Judy and I have a friend who got one of those GrandPads, and it's just opening the world up for her. Before, she didn't want anything to do with computers, and now she's getting the feel of it, and it's just changing things for her.
That's wonderful. I'd love to get a testimony if she would be able to or interested in just writing out or somehow recording a brief statement of how the GrandPad has been a benefit for her, a positive benefit.
We will offer that to her and see if she'd be interested.
Yeah, that just helps us, in different ways as we try to promote as we try to describe its benefit, as well as give evidence that yes, those who are using it are seeing a real benefit. And again, the goals of the GrandPad primarily are to work on reducing feelings of loneliness and social isolation that people often feel at home, particularly. And hopefully the GrandPad, its design is such that people using it can find various resources and features that will allow them to have better ongoing connections with family and friends of their choosing. They are never contacted by anyone that is not part of their circle of trust that they designate and that GrandPad sets up for them. But just the games, the video, Zoom calls, the various features of the GrandPad are really terrific, and they're geared to the use of a senior adult or someone with disabilities regarding how they function, the ease of use, and those type of things. So I'm grateful to hear that report. Thank you.
Paul, where can you sign up for this online without bothering your too busy case manager?
Well, if it's part of our APD GrandPad program, it has to go through the case manager, because the case manager submits a referral request to us, to APD, and we look it over. There's a transmittal out about a month ago that describes the qualifications for eligibility, which are met by many people. They're not stringent, but there are some qualifications there. And if those are met, then that request is approved. It's submitted to GrandPad electronically, and within 3 to 5 days, the individual is receiving the GrandPad tablet at their home. And there's communication going forward, so they're aware of that and looking for it, etc. So, Marcia, you have to go through a case manager to submit the referral. And then after that, GrandPad kind of takes over in regards to the majority of the communication that you would receive regarding your tablet.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Community Advisory Council Coordinated Care Organizations.
I have just a little bit on that, but not a lot. The CCOs are waiting for their contracts so they can read over them and sign them and such, because of their 5-year or 7-year contracts in this next go around. I believe that the 3.0 hasn't come out yet on the CCO 3.0. I think everybody's waiting for that from OHA and what they're wanting to do, including CMS, because it filters down to the CCOs once CMS does their business with OHA. The other thing is Jackson Care Connect is holding their conference down here. The CCO down in Ashland. It's a conference on April 18th and 19th. And then there's the NEMT service that is also being worked on. I'm on the committee for that one with OHA. There's a lot to do with that one. But once it's all done, there's going to be new booklets come out for the employer consumers and brokerages. There is still whether there is agreement or disagreement on companies like Lynx or GoHub or Grub. I think it's one of the two. Services it's supposed to be plugged into the new EMT service. Whenever a provider isn't able to pick up a person, a medical appointment, they're going to try to get TNC. Links. I'm trying to remember what the names are, but you guys probably already know what I mean, because you got to call them in for them to pick up food at restaurants. They're called links. Well, they're trying to get them in and doing contracts and stuff. And there's an agreement or disagreement still on whether they should follow the same rules as providers. And that's still up in the air. Hoping to get this all done by June, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Heidi, will you please scroll up on the agenda? Okay. Matt, are you ready for us?
Sure, I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready as I'll ever be, anyways. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Raposa with APD Medicaid Services and Supports team. Thank you for having me. I am here to talk about the Oregon Project Independence Medicaid update. Just a correction there, it says Medicare, but technically it stands for Medicaid. I just wanted to go ahead and provide you. I know we've had some updates about the program in the past, so I won't go through all the general details, but happy to report that as of the middle of last month, CMS has agreed to officially approve the OPIM program. So it's been approved, and we're pretty much given the green light to start the program. So I'll do a quick reminder of what the program does in case folks need a reminder. But basically what it will do is it's an in-home only program which provides up to 40 hours of care per pay period. And the main difference is that it's a much higher threshold for folks to be eligible for the program. So our main long-term services and supports program, the service priority level, where we're assessing the individual's care needs, goes from 1 to 13. And this allows us to go up to all the way SPL 18. And what that translates to is that if the individual pretty much has any or almost any ADL or activities of daily living type care needs, or even needing assistance with medication management from another person, the individual will meet the service eligibility criteria. And then the financial eligibility is also a little bit easier to get in. It allows up to the 400% of federal poverty level for the income. That translates to around $5,000 a month of monthly income. and a resource limit that equals 6 months of the nursing facility stay. That translates to almost $90,000 in resources. So it's obviously much higher than our main program. One of the hallmarks of the program that we were asking for that did get approved is that estate administration claims are being waived. So while the individual is receiving services under the OPIM program, there is no estate claims for that while they're there, and that includes the services that they receive as well as any medical benefits the individual is also eligible for during that time period. So pretty exciting there. So with that being a plan, we're actively working on several projects to make this a reality to launch it. And so we're gonna final decision has not been made yet on this, but we're anticipating a gradual or rolling implementation of the program. So basically what we're looking at is a staged rollout where we're going to first take a look at individuals who are currently on the waiting list for the OPI program today, which we know there are waiting lists in pretty much all service areas. And so we're going to have our AAA staff take a look at those individuals and see who is interested in applying for the OPIM program. And if the individual is interested, then we work with the state office or the Type B office to make that eligibility determination. And if they're eligible, then we can start serving them. So it'll start with the program will start with looking at those folks who are on the waiting list, and then followed by looking at individuals who are actually on the OPI program to see if they also want to be who wants to be transitioned to the OPIM program. So we're going to kind of work on that first. And the main reason why we're focusing just on the two population groups, one is that we feel that that's probably where the biggest need is at, because those folks either not being served or being underserved by the OPI program by and large. So our focus is on those folks first. And also we want to make sure that we want to set ourselves up to be successful. And so prior to opening the program to just everyone that comes through our door, we want to kind of slowly implement this by focusing on the populations I mentioned first. Work with those folks, work out any kinks, because there's always something, and kind of make sure we feel like we're in a good position before we fully open it up to everyone. And that process is going to take a little bit of time. It could be, it's going to be at least 6, 9, maybe 12 months. It's hard to say exactly how long the implementation will be until we fully open it to everyone. But the plan, but we're going to work towards that. So pretty excited about it. We're a lot of work that goes behind it, of course. But yeah, we're working towards it. So just want to pause here for a moment just to see if there are any questions with what I shared so far.
I think you hit on something though that the commission is very concerned about. How many new workers are we going to need to fill what's going to happen under this program?
You mean providers?
Yes.
It's that's one of the things we're going to be monitoring, because we don't have a new provider pool for the program expansion. That's a good question. I don't know if anyone has the specific answer to that, but we're gonna be watching that specifically and just seeing if we end up seeing some gaps there in between those who are eligible and those who are actually receiving the services. But I don't have a good answer for you on that yet. It's yeah, but there's definitely going to be expected yeah, some additional assistance needed though to support it.
Okay. George?
Yes, I'm at this is Commissioner Adams. Now, I will tell you there has been some employers and some consumers that are confused, and I will let you know why. Because of the amount of programs that are coming out, including the Oregon Health and Human Service or the Home Care Commission, is that when every time, and it was pointed out to me, for every time the state comes out with a program like OPI and OPIM and all these others, and the one that I know his name, we all knew him before he departed into Nikisha's position. There was one called the 255 proposition when we were all in on that on the rack. Anyhow, the thing is when every time there's a program come out, consumers and employers are confused as to how many programs there is to choose from. Is there a way that in every branch of the state that it could be a list of programs that could help the employers and consumers to choose from once these programs are coming out, so they can talk to somebody about them? Some of these people are in the dark with most of these and don't understand.
A big part of this is training our case management staff on the program, which is, it's not a simple thing. It's definitely a new program for the APD state staff and AAA staff. So there will be extensive training on it, and there's even at least, I think the guide is mainly internal, but I think it could be shared with consumers who are interested. That does show the kind of the differences between the different programs. But the goal is for case managers. So basically, when someone applies for let's say the program's fully launched, it's available to everyone. The case manager's responsibility is to be able to provide all the different program options to the individual. And so they can pick and choose what program is best suited for them, because it's not a one size fits all, of course. And so it's it's all about case managers providing all the different options, all the pros, all the cons, things to consider. So I'll give you an example. Let's say the program's launched, someone applies for services, they're interested. And then let's say the individual is like interested in receiving services in their own home, but they've got, let's say, a lot of care needs. It's not a simple, it's fairly extensive, let's say. A lot of different care needs are going on. And so the case manager can talk about, for example, okay, we have this program, the OPIM program. However, what it does is it allows you to receive services within your own home for up to 40 hours per pay period. It doesn't allow a state claim. So you kind of describe the program a little bit, and then the case manager says there is another program, our main in-home program, which there is no cap on those in-home hours. However, it does have a state claims, and kind of explain what that means. And so the individual would have to choose, well, I like the idea of not having estate claims when I pass away, because I have some resources I want to pass to my loved ones. However, the 40 hours per pay period is not going to be enough to meet my needs. I've got a lot of care, and that's not going to work for me. And so that's where the case manager's job is to provide the information to the individual, explain this is what this program does, this is what that program does. The case manager's job is not to try to persuade the individual what program to choose. Their job is to present all of the program options, and then the consumer, their loved ones, whoever, can decide based upon the information provided which program is best for them. And then we do it. assuming the person's eligible, of course. So, but that's always what we want, and that's the ideal situation where we want case managers explaining the different service options. So, but yes, there will be training. We want to make sure case managers are well aware of the program. We have a lot of training that we're putting into this. We have a dedicated team of trainers just for OPIM who's going to develop all the different ins and outs of what they need to know to put us in the best position possible when they start working with individuals who are interested. Hopefully that helps a little bit, George. I know that's a long answer to your question.
It does, but also, can there be a list in each branch is what I'm getting at, as to what type of programs there is. Like if I walk into a branch, I want to be able to see a list of programs that you guys have. If I'm to have services.
Okay, George, check your chat box. Paul has just put in the link for the information you're asking for.
Yeah, and thank you, Paul. And that's the chart I was actually referring to that we've actually developed. It's hard for, I mean, it makes sense for our staff to take a look at it. There's just the challenge is that there's so much information on there because there's so many different nuances that ultimately a case manager would probably need to explain some of the information on that chart. But it does help the case manager by referring to it. It does help the case manager better explain all the different nuances between the programs, though.
Okay, I understand it. I'm just trying to bring it forward so then the state and the Oregon Health and Human Service can do a better job in helping other consumers, is what I'm trying to do. So you guys can be aware of how to help others when they go into branches. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Appreciate the feedback, George.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, you have a question.
Yeah, hi, Matt. Just, are there any ideas or comments you would have with your experience on the commission in APD about how we as a commission can support OPIM? Is there anything in particular that comes to mind as things get ready to roll out that the commission could do to assist, prepare for, or support this new program?
I'm thinking. You know, it may be help. I don't know if this is the right group to do it. Perhaps it isn't. But the first thing that comes to mind is, and I think some of you are connected with the various DSACs or SACs throughout the state. I think bringing awareness kind of local, you know, in the local DSACs and SACs would be helpful so they can start talking about it as well and maybe bring awareness that way because I think it needs to filter down to the local communities to better understand the new program here. I mean, the words are going to get out anyways at some point, but I think the more that we can spread it, the more we can provide understanding of how this program can help individuals, the better. Some of this is intended for. So one of the goals of this program is kind of a quote unquote pre-Medicaid service program, whereas you know kind of like the OPI program. That's actually very similar to the OPI program. The hope of the OPI program in part has been to help individuals receive some level of assistance to try to delay or maybe even prevent the individual from needing to access the regular long-term services and supports program. This OPI program is kind of the same thing, but goes a step further than that because there's a lot of funding attached to this. You know, there's more hours associated with it. more service options. And so it provides a really good resource for individuals who are not quite needing, that main Medicaid service program, but could really use some level of assistance in their home, and and hopefully prevent or at least delay the need to access our other Medicaid programs. So getting the word out and just having folks access this, I think it's just a benefit for everyone. But otherwise, I don't have any great ideas, Paul.
Are these people eligible for the K plan under this program?
Thank you. That's a good question, Ruth. They are not, but
okay.
The K plan program and the OPIM program is actually very similar. So I'll give you an example here, and it's actually in the chart that Paul provided a link to. For example, some of the main features of the K plan program, which is our main service program, for individuals in their own home, for example, they can get a home modification. They can get a ramp if they need, if there's an accessibility need to get inside their home. They can have perhaps their bathroom modified if, to make it more accessible or get in and out of the shower a lot easier. It pays for things such as lift chairs to make it easier to get in and out of the sitting position for folks. Those kind of services are kind of some of the hallmarks of our K plan program. Those same services are also in the OPIM program. So that's the nice thing about it, is that there is a lot of crossover. So it's not technically K plan, but it's gonna feel like it for most folks. The biggest difference being that 40-hour cap.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Matt, and I hope you will keep us updated as to how this works and what happens each time.
Sure, definitely. And next month you may want to invite me back again to talk a little bit more about the Agency with Choice program. That's not directly a commission thing, but it affects a lot of individuals who are receiving in-home services. And I know that's a hot topic, but I think it would be helpful if you'd like to have me back next time to talk more about that. The bill we anticipate is going to pass in the Oregon legislature, and so we're actively working on that, and there'll be obviously impacts to that too. So I'd be happy to talk about that at our next at the next meeting if you'd like to invite me to talk about it.
You didn't hear our discussion before you came. We have had some discussion on this.
I can only imagine what you all talked about.
And George, you have another question?
Yes, Matt, you wouldn't happen to have access to the 1115 waiver, would you? That wouldn't be connected in what you're doing?
I can provide you all the information on the waiver if you'd like. It's not exactly exciting reading, but if you want to, I'll put it in the chat. It'll be the application, the approval from CMS, all that good stuff if you're interested in looking at that.
Well, my question is, how much more does the state really need to be totally finished with the 1115 waiver? Or is it going to continue?
Well, the demonstration lasts for 5 years with the option to extend. So we anticipate this being a permanent part of our program. So the intent would be to extend the program beyond the 5 years that the typically demonstrations last. And that's pretty common for 1115s to be extended. That's a common thing.
Okay, and I have compared ours with Arizona, and Arizona is the worst.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. And we do look forward to you coming back and talking more on this.
Sure. I'll stay on the line just for a moment here, even though you're moving on, because I want to find the link to the 11 to 15 demonstration information George asked for, so you can all have that to review. So I'll stay on the line and I'll provide that link here in just a moment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Justin is not here yet.
Do you want me to see if he can jump on early?
Either that or do you want to go ahead and start your report?
Yeah, I can start my report.
Okay. Then go ahead.
Okay, so some of the activities I've been up to over the last couple of months is doing presentations for the APD AAA program managers and district managers meeting, keeping them updated about their registry and workforce development and other things. The APD line leadership meeting, so that's a presentation to the supervisors across the state who work for APD. I've been involved with the ODHS strategic planning meeting. So overall, the ODHS is developing a strategic plan and they're working with a contractor to do that. David Vining represented me at the ODDS managers meeting. We had another AAA Type B / APD monthly meeting. So that was with some of the directors of the AAAs. And I just gave an update about the commission. And then David and I spoke at the ADRC Options Counseling quarterly meeting about changes to the registry. And then I wanted to surprise you with this other meeting. I was invited by RISE Partnership to meet Acting Secretary Julie Su and Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici in February. And the focus of the event was to highlight labor management partnerships. So I added a picture there. Some of the people that also attended were, there was a nursing home administrator and some CNA apprentices, because that's also part of RISE Partnership is helping with the CNA apprentice program. And so Joy, who is standing next to me, she is the president of Home Care for SEIU. And the person next to her is, you may recognize her from our DD Mental Health Committee, that is Ruth. And so the people that were invited were SEIU, the Home Care Commission, RISE Partnership, nursing facilities, and CNA apprentices. In addition to, of course, Julie Su and Suzanne Bonamici. And we're standing in, the RISE Partnership has a room that teaches, it's like set up as like a little hospital room that it teaches people how to provide hands-on care to individuals. So they were showing Secretary Julie Su and Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici that setup. Okay, Heidi, if you scroll down. So some of the things we've been working on is an online health and safety form. I had mentioned that last time, but the form is now live on our website and it's available in multiple languages. And I added the link there. So the purpose of the form, of course, is for providers to have a central place to report issues that they're experiencing, health and safety issues that they're experiencing in a consumer's home. So it could be something like abuse, unsafe conditions in the home, something like that. So we're telling providers they should always report to their local office first, but there's also a way for them to report on this online form, and it will email them a summary of the information that they provided. So this is going to let us track and monitor these reported issues and their resolution. So if you want to scroll down. So I should say, once somebody fills out that form, it goes to the Oregon Home Care Commission, and we start by reaching out to the local office, making sure that they're taking action on following up on the situation, talking with the provider and talking with the consumer, reaching out to the APD policy team if they need technical assistance with the case. And then we want to just monitor to make sure there's a resolution to the situation. And that picture there is from our website, and that will show you where that health and safety form is. So we have one for just regular customer service requests, one for later partial payment request forms, health and safety, and our PP order form. Some information about workforce development. So our first workforce development video is finally complete and will be shared out through social media and our workforce collaborative partners. And I included the link there so that you can watch the video. The next video will focus on recruiting college students, with the message that this is a flexible type of position that they're able to go to school and provide home care services. A community toolkit is also being developed that includes a benefit flyer, FAQs, a checklist on how to apply, and business cards with a QR code for the application. A request for proposal for a media campaign for workforce recruitment is being developed, and this will be a partnership between the Commission, ODHS, and OHA. So that'll be a large media campaign, paying for advertising, focus groups, really coming up with a strong message for recruitment. DocuSign will soon be available statewide that allows individuals to apply online to join the home care workforce. It's been piloted and it's been going really well. So an individual who's interested in joining the workforce can fill out the application online, and then it gets routed to the local office. So there's the option for them to do that online, which is more efficient. So all the local offices will be able to do that.
You have two questions. You want to take them now?
I was just going to ask you, do you want me to take them now, or do you want me to go through the report?
No,
okay.
Go ahead and take it while we're right on that subject.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, hi, Jenny. Just a quick question. So the workforce development video, exciting to hear that it's going forward. You said social media, et cetera. Can we also obviously have it on our own website with the commission? And then maybe there would be like, I don't know, ADRC or some other related areas that we could ask them to post a video as well. I don't know, but I was just thinking certainly on our own website. Just a quick question on the DocuSign. That obviously links with Karina then.
No, it doesn't link with Karina. So these are separate. So this would go to the local offices to begin the enrollment process for home care work, for individuals to join the home care workforce. So it would go to the local office, they would review the application, they would have the person come in and they would do an I-9, they'd start the background check process, but it at least starts the process online.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. George.
Yes, what you've got displayed here and in the also the before link for filling out the forms for complaints against consumers and such. This here is on our new website, right?
It's on the Home Care Commission website.
Okay, so is it also a link to the new Oregon Health and Human Service website too?
I'm not entirely understanding, but our website is part of the new website.
I think he's talking about the one system and the new websites that they're putting up.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, I'm talking about Oregon Health and Human Service website.
Yes.
Because Nikisha already had a brand new website put up just like us.
Right.
So
yes.
We're already having it. I was wondering if it's also on her website, her new website too. I'm wondering.
I don't believe so.
I'm just trying to make it easier and faster access for providers. If they can't find ours, they can find.
Yeah, so there is a search function on that main ODHS website, the newly designed website. They can actually type in keywords and it will direct them to our website.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Alrighty.
Justin is here.
So why don't we, is it okay if Justin presents? I know that he may have to leave soon. Okay, thank you.
Yes, because this is a good breaking point. So Justin, are you ready for us?
I'm ready. Happy to serve as a good breaking point. So I think, you know, you've heard me talk about these same bills time and time again already. So I think I'll probably be pretty quick in my updates. Happy to take questions as always, but I also want to note that I'm waiting on my other screen over here. The House is currently in session, and I think the next thing on their agenda is a bill that I'm tracking very closely for the Office of Developmental Disability Services, which I'm happy to talk about if anyone's curious. But in the meantime, I just wanted to mention today is probably not the last day of session. I think they're probably going to carry over into tomorrow, but it is possible that a decision will be made at some point today that, hey, let's hurry on through and wrap up tonight. So I'm interested in seeing how things progress, but overall, I think the big things that we're looking at right now, there are really 4 bills I want to talk about, one of which is, of course, the Agency with Choice bill, House Bill 4129. That passed yesterday, or what is today? Sorry. Perhaps it passed 2 days ago. I'm starting to lose track of time. And it passed the House on a nearly party line vote. So it is presently awaiting a Senate vote where I expect it'll probably come down roughly along party lines as well. In the House, there was one Republican who supported it, and then all of the Democrats who were present supported it. So I think the total vote was like 34 to 22 or something. There were several absences that day. Um, the I mean, we've discussed concerns here. I have shared those as broadly as I could with, the governor's office, with they're along the lines of concerns that were raised last session when the conversation was around a different version of the bill. But I understand those concerns didn't really change. And I know I've heard some of the folks in this room and others have been reaching out to legislators to share those concerns. I would reiterate, this was a governor's office priority, and the department, of course, serves kind of under the purview of the governor's office. So the legislative outreach was the appropriate venue for raising those concerns. And, if the bill does pass the Senate today or tomorrow, I assume the governor will sign it based on the fact that it is one of her priorities, but that's not necessarily the end of the conversation, because there will be rulemaking as we implement that bill and build out that program, and really encourage folks here to get involved in that process as well. I think that's all I'll say about that one, but of course, happy to field questions as always. I also wanted to mention House Bill 4033, which is a bill, it would continue an existing provider assessment, provider tax, basically, for long-term care facilities, aka nursing homes. And that bill passed both the House and the Senate, so it is on its way to the governor's office for a signature. The quick explanation of that is basically that we collect a tax from nursing homes so that we can access federal funds, which we then give back to nursing homes so that they can provide Medicaid services. Literally no one has any issues with this program. Even the providers who are being taxed are like, please, please, please don't let this tax sunset because it gets us more money than we have to pay. So totally uncontroversial. And, ironically, it is a sunset extension. So what we did with this bill, well, not us, it wasn't our bill, but what the bill did is it takes the current sunset of this tax, which was scheduled to end in 2026, and it extends it to 2032. And during conversation in the committee, the legislators all said, like, why are we extending this sunset? Why don't we just remove the sunset and make this a permanent tax? Since we all love it so much, since everybody in the state seems to love it so much. And the answer was basically, oh, we didn't think of that. So So it's possible this will come up again in another 6 years and they will remove the sunset rather than just extending it. But for now, we have until 2032 before we need to worry about that. So I'll talk to you all about it again in another 5 or 6 years. One bill that didn't seem like it had the clearest path, Senate Bill 1521. This is the bill that has language on the APD acuity-based staffing tool in community-based care facilities. And it also has that extension of the implementation for sprinkler requirements for adult foster homes and small DD group homes as well. That one does seem like it's moving forward toward passage now. There was another part in that bill that has since been amended out that I had heard some people on the House side of the Capitol had some concerns about it moving forward. So that amendment was adopted yesterday. Again, I don't remember when things happened, either yesterday or the day before. And it is up for a final vote in the Senate today today. And then, and you know what? No, it's scheduled for a Senate vote tomorrow. But this is one that I think might get kind of fast-tracked and heard today. Just as people see the finish line in sight, they're eager to pass as many bills as they can and, get home to their families early tomorrow rather than working into the evening. So that's one, we haven't heard any concerns really. The extension of the sprinkler deadline, the statewide organization of fire marshals did raise concerns about that, but the concerns, it's an organization that hasn't been a part of the conversation with us. The state fire marshal's office is part of that conversation, but it seems like word didn't quite trickle down that we're not talking about, removing any fire safety provisions for these residential homes. We would never dream of doing that. All we're trying to do is figure out how to properly address fire safety without placing any undue cost on those providers. And, when we talk about cost versus safety, obviously safety is the higher priority. But our position is that there haven't been any drastic fire issues. We feel like existing fire safety rules are adequate to keep people safe in these settings. And we're willing to even, increase the level of fire safety rules somewhat in order to help the building codes division folks feel like we're taking it as seriously as we possibly can. But because there are capacity concerns already in the adult foster home network, we don't want to do anything that would increase the costs of operating adult foster homes. We really, really want to make sure that we're encouraging new providers to come on board rather than making it harder and harder for those folks to get up and running. So that'll be an ongoing conversation after the session, but for now, that bill does look like it's on a clear path to passage. And then the last bill I wanted to highlight is kind of a new one on our radar. And that's just because not until toward the end of every session do they start talking about budget bills. The big budget bill that we're tracking right now is Senate Bill 5701. And I was actually going to drop a link in the chat, but it says that chat is disabled. So if we want to, I can send that to Jenny.
Disabled, Justin.
Oh, no?
No, it shouldn't be at all. I haven't done anything to the chat.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's very weird. If you want to send it to me in an email, I will share it.
Very happy to do that.
Thank you.
I'll try and talk while I do that. The big thing that the big APD asks that were being considered for this budget bill, we're all kind of moderately successful. Well, one of them was fully successful. We had requested 9 positions to help. Again, I mentioned the acuity-based staffing tool earlier. We also, separate from Senate Bill 1521, which gets at some of the technical issues with past legislation about acuity-based staffing, there were also kind of workload issues about that past legislation. When it was initially being considered, we kind of underestimated how much work it would wind up creating for the licensing folks who are investigating complaints related to staffing. So we came back to the legislature this year and said, hey, apologies, we got that wrong back in 2021. And we would love 9 more positions. And the legislature, according to the amendments adopted in this bill, said, sure, we understand, have your 9 positions. So we will, assuming the bill passes, which I have no doubt it will, we will get going with hiring those positions and kind of catching up with a backlog in work around staffing-based licensing complaint investigations. The other big asks that went into that bill were sorry, there was a case management request, and this was due to some misunderstanding, some maybe a little bit of intransigence by by some of the folks in the budgeting process. There are a lot of case management only folks who were not absorbed into the workload model. So the workload model is how we determine how many positions we need to do things like case management in APD licensed settings, in APD, for all APD consumers. And the sorry, I keep getting distracted by the case management only folks, the folks who are not yet receiving attendant care services, are not built into the workload model at this time. So we made a request to kind of make case managers whole, to make sure that both APD and the AAAs who are doing that case management work are able to adequately staff up and see to it that we're, serving all of the folks who are case management only. And the legislature said, oh, the AAAs need case managers. Absolutely, you can have all of those positions. And then they didn't give us the APD central office or APD local office case managers that we were requesting. So partial victory on that. And that unfortunately is going to be work that just needs to be absorbed. It's going to result in probably higher caseloads than we would like to see for some of the case managers working in APD offices. So unfortunate. I'm not sure exactly where our communication lines got crossed there, but we will continue working on making sure that this doesn't happen in the next biennium, whether we need 2025 legislation to address that or just a lot more education with the folks who are managing our budgetary decisions in, administrative services and other parts of the executive branch. We're definitely going to dive deep into that and make sure that this doesn't continue to be an issue. And the third thing is there are housing support positions. The housing support program is something that CMS, the Medicaid federal folks, had approved, had encouraged us to do on an ongoing basis. And again, through a miscommunication in the last biennium's budget, the housing support positions were hired as limited duration, meaning they were only scheduled to last for the duration of the biennium. So we went back to the legislature and said, our bad, those are supposed to be permanent. Actually, we didn't say our bad because we don't think it was our bad. We think it was the legislature's, but we requested that they be made permanent. And what they wound up doing was they gave us 11 of the 16 positions as permanent. And there are 5, it's supposed to be 1 position for each DHS district in the state, of which there are 16, I'm sure you know. But we only got 11. So a little bit of an open question how we're going to divide work among those 11, if they're all going to be district specific and there are just going to be 5 districts that don't have that support right now. But again, this is something that we need to fix in 2025 because the federal government had directed us to have 16 positions, and we need them. It's important work. You know, those housing support folks are the ones who are partnering with case managers to really address housing concerns for folks who are experiencing houselessness, on the verge of experiencing houselessness, who are struggling to make ends meet, and their housing is at risk for any variety of reasons. And they do things like helping the case manager deal with with HUD requests, federal housing support, state housing support with the Department of Housing and Community Services. Just a lot of really vital work that we hope we're able to continue doing. So again, a partial win there, but disappointed that we only got 11 of those 16 positions. Like I said, I will oh, chat is available now. I will not email Heidi. I will instead just drop in the chat. This is the budget report for the budget bill that I was talking about, Senate Bill 5701. And if you scroll down to I think page 41 is where the DHS section starts. 41 through 47. And page 44 is where APD's asks are. And those are the bills I came to talk about. Ruth, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the housing specialists that you guys were referring to there. And I would not be in the apartment I'm in now if it wasn't for this housing specialists at Northwest Senior and Disability Services and how hard they worked to make sure I had a place to live, because otherwise I would have wound up back in a nursing home. And so that is a very vital program.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you got those positions, and I wish you could have gotten them all.
Yeah. Universally in APD, we all agree that it's disappointing we didn't get them all. But yes, I 100% agree. It's just incredibly important work, and I'm really, really happy that that worked out for you. You know, I think the reality is that work will still probably get done, but it'll just fall on other folks who are trying to divide their time with other tasks, who aren't able to really specialize and dig deep into those housing issues. So a little bit disappointing, but also, realistically, it's not that long until the 2025 session when hopefully we can get that all straightened out. George.
Yes. I wanted your opinion on the Senate Bill 1530. I wasn't too happy with that 1530. And they didn't put a disability in that bill.
So that is, if you can refresh my memory, that's the bill that has to do with emergency housing. Is that correct?
Housing itself, yes. And there was an amendment to it where people were able to receive air conditioning filters and everything else. Well, yeah. The 30 was, just wanted your opinion on it because I wasn't too happy when it got passed. Because
well, I think we were, the department was tracking that as something that really impacted the, well, I can't think of what OREM stands for right now. Office of Emergency Management. I forget what the R is. Sorry.
Resiliency.
Office of Resilience and Emergency Management. Thank you, Jenny. Um, so yeah, it's specific to, like you said, heating and cooling for emergency shelters that are operated by that OREM, Office of Resilience and Emergency Management. And to the extent that, you know, disability isn't specifically mentioned, I do believe that OREM, you know, takes accessibility into consideration as it's establishing those emergency shelters. They have historically, you know, during past wildfire events especially, gone out of their way to try and ensure that you know, people with disabilities are not in any way, you know, left out of the services that they're providing. I don't know the ins and outs of their program. I don't really work very closely with OREM, but um, you know, even the fact that disability is not specifically called out in the bill doesn't necessarily mean that it won't be taken into consideration as that money is put to good use during future emergencies.
And has the other bill passed where you have to have now 7 in the foster home?
That bill will not be moving forward. Actually, thank you for reminding me. I'm not still tracking it because the bill died, but it died in the best possible way, which is that the senator who was sponsoring it, Senator Meek, came forward and said, you know, I've heard all of the concerns. I thought that we were doing something important here, but I understand that people think there are different avenues that might be better for helping adult foster homes stay afloat financially. So he is committed to bringing forward a work group during the interim between now and the next session, and we're going to be as actively involved in that work group as possible, if not even, you know, if the senator wants us to lead it. I know Jane Ellen Wydans and I are enthusiastic to do as much of that work as he's willing to let us do. Our big point is just that, you know, we need to preserve the home-like nature of adult foster homes. We need to ensure that we're coming up with viable solutions that don't cause unintended consequences. You know, if we just tinker with the capacity of different residential settings, it could cause some real regulatory problems for us. So as we're doing this work of, you know, looking into rate models broadly, how we can adequately compensate individual workers and reimburse providers for the services that they're providing. We're going to have this now simultaneous conversation specifically about adult foster homes, where we're going to be like looking into how other states support adult foster home providers in, you know, running successful, viable businesses so that they're not at risk of going under, and doing, you know, frankly, moving toward policy proposals along these lines where they're just out there kind of frankly feeling desperate, and this was the sort of quickest, easiest solution that they saw for how to bring in additional revenue. And we, you know, we didn't oppose the bill. We did have significant concerns, and we raised those on the record, but we remained neutral on the bill, and we made that really clear to all of the committee members because we really value that adult foster home provider community, and we want to support them however we can. So hopefully this work group will be a way that we can do that.
And have you seen the bill out yet, if it's not come out yet, on the preferred vocabulary of autonomic dyslexic?
I'm not familiar with that one.
I brought it to CMS's attention to making a requirement. Because
interesting.
Hospitals, nursing homes, foster homes, home care agencies should know that vocabulary and the definition and do's and don'ts.
And just sort of like an educational training for medical providers. That's what you're going for?
Yes, it keeps a para and a quad and keeps them alive and not dead. By knowing that definition and that word.
I would be really interested in seeing, I mean, if you have any emails that you've sent or anything along those lines, you're welcome to send them to me. I would, I also need that education, George. So feel free to share it with me as much as possible in my email inbox. Oh, and I'll drop I'm sure my email address has been shared dozens of times in this group already, but I'll share it again just in case anybody wants to reach out.
Okay.
Any other questions? I know this is kind of a weird time where we're basically just waiting to see what happens in the legislature in these final couple days, but I do think the path for most of these bills is pretty clear at this point.
Oh, one more thing, Justin.
Yeah.
Is there any bill whatsoever coming our way for us to decide on the Home Care Commission?
So at this point in the session, we aren't really, it's a little too late to seek further input on things. I think there'll be some conversations about 2025 bills that are starting in the next couple of months.
I think that's the question he's asking for. What is going to happen to us in the 25?
Yeah, I am not 100% sure what is on everyone's radar. The DHS has been in conversation with the governor's office about some legislative concepts that we might be putting forward, but we don't have final approval yet on which ones will and won't be moving forward. So I'm not really able to talk about those right now. I will commit to coming back as often as you'll have me and continuing to have these conversations so that we can get input from the commissioners and also keep just a really open, clear line of communication about what our goals in 2025 are. I just, as with other things we've discussed here, we're kind of limited by what the governor's office wants us to prioritize, since the governor is trying to, effectively use all of the resources available in all of the state agencies. She doesn't necessarily want us pursuing every single good idea that we've had. So I think those conversations will be ongoing, probably starting in April. I think I see at the bottom of our shared screen here, April 4th. I will put that on my calendar and hope that you'll have me back. Or if nothing else, I can just come and listen to what you all are talking about.
May I ask, who was the decider of what's going to go forth for 2025?
Well, there's kind of a team of people in the governor's office. We work really closely with our policy analyst who handles human services issues. Her name is Rachel Kearns Henry. But then they also have a legislative team. The director and deputy director are Bob Livingston and Morgan Gratz Weiser. But there's a variety of people weighing into those conversations. They have budget experts who are looking at what's our expected revenue and how many, kind of big ticket items can we afford to prioritize. And then every other policy advisor really gets to take part in that conversation as well, because, you have the housing policy advisor. Of course, housing is a really high priority for the governor. You have the public safety advisor who they're all kind of pushing and pulling about which priorities should and shouldn't go forward. So.
Would you put those names in the chat so that we know who we need to contact?
I am happy to share those names. I don't have permission to share their contact information. It's probably, if you Google them, you can probably find them.
Well, that's not a problem. We know how to find their address, but we just need to know the names.
Yeah.
and who they're connected with.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll put 3 names in, and they are all from the governor's office. I'll just put GO as shorthand.
All right. So they kind of pull on this like taffy to get what should rise.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. There's a lot of push and pull among all of the different agencies. You know, DHS right now is trying to advocate really strongly that we should be prioritized, but so is every other state agency, and their respective policy advisors are probably making all those same arguments to one another. No, housing is more important. No, human services are more important. So.
Well, we thank you for this presentation. Oh, Paul has a question.
Oh yeah, Paul.
Hi, Justin. Hey, first of all, thank you for all of your work as you handle all these different bills and so forth and represent APD. Quick question. We had a discussion earlier today, and it's an ongoing one for us. You know, we want to continue to have even greater impact among the legislators with our concerns and the work that we do as a commission. And just kind of based on this recent session, do you just have any further advice to the commission about how we can have positive interaction and develop a stronger relationship with individual legislators or committees that we would want to have a voice with regarding our work?
You know, I frankly have struggled more this session than I expected in really getting the attention of some of the legislators who are positioned to make human services policy decisions. Folks on the committees are, I don't know, everybody seemed like they were very stretched thin and didn't have a lot of time to really dive deep into what APD does as a program, what we consider priorities for policy. But I do think that, you know, making the rounds, for one thing, it's always better to make the rounds in person whenever possible, or to meet with legislators face to face whenever possible. You know, in the sort of COVID era, we have relied really heavily on these virtual meetings, which are amazing. I love that we're able to come together like this, but also there's just something lost in translation, and it's harder to form those tight relationships with legislators and to really get them to be, you know, your advocate in the legislature, unless you can have that face-to-face time. So that's something that I'm gonna try to figure out over the course of the interim. It'll probably involve a lot of driving for me, but yeah, that's one point. And second, you know, I think just focusing on education and letting policy advocacy come second to that is really important. I think, you know, all of the conversations around agency with choice over these last 2 years have really illustrated to me that people don't understand the role that the Home Care Commission really serves in the grand scheme of service delivery. And I think correcting the record there is just a matter of you know, making the rounds and doing just kind of introductions to OHCC 101. uh, so and those conversations inevitably lead to like, well, what are you seeing as potential for improvements? Where are the weak spots that need to be wrapped up? And you know, as Jane Ellen has said, any like direct policy advocacy needs to be approved by the governor's office, but that doesn't mean that you can't, in a conversation with a legislator, just say, yeah, you know, we had this interesting experience, and I wonder if you could think about if you could work with the department on potential policy improvements to address this issue that we're seeing. So, you know, not encouraging anybody to like bend the rules or live in a gray area, but there are plenty of natural ways where those sorts of things come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is here, but I don't want to cut you off because we do appreciate and the fact that you're willing to come back is important to us.
Indeed.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Oh, well, thank you for calling it wisdom. That's great. And I'll actually linger for a moment because I'm interested in hearing what the next speaker has to say as well, but I'm also going to return my attention to the legislature.
Help me.
So Anna, would you introduce as to who you are and what all you do?
Excellent. Yeah, my name is Anna Lansky. I'm the interim director for the Office of Developmental Disability Services. And I was really hoping that Dana Hiddle would be able to join me today. I think here she is. Because I am actually going to be leaving Department of Human Services on March 15th. And Dana Hiddle will be stepping in as an interim director for Office of Developmental Disability Services in the meantime. And I did something with my Zoom trying to click on stuff. Oh gosh, what happened? Can you guys still see and hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can
Yes, we
see and hear you.
Excellent. As I said, I have, I don't know, many of you have seen my message, but I have taken another position with another company and will be moving on to other opportunities. It's been great privilege to serve Oregonians with intellectual and developmental disabilities for the past 9 years. For 8 years of that, I was deputy director to the previous director, Lilia Tennedy, and then stepped in as an interim director for ODDS. And it's definitely been a great honor and privilege to serve this community. And Dana is going to be stepping in the meantime. And I don't know, Dana, if you want to jump in and just say a few words about your background, although you're probably well known.
Oh, infamous is what I like to say. Hi, everyone. It's good to be with you today. My name is Dana Hiddle. I use she, her pronouns. And I do recognize some faces here of folks I've worked with in the distant past. So I've been with the state for about 25 years, and I've worked in ODDS and APD back in the early 2000s, and then moved over to the Oregon Health Authority for 10 years. And while I was over there, I did some HCBS work with ODDS and APD and CMS, and then became the deputy Medicaid director, and then the state Medicaid director for the last 2.5 years I was with OHA. And then came back over to ODHS, which is like coming home, and currently working with Anna as her interim deputy DD director, and then stepping into the interim director role until a new permanent director can be hired. And then I do a little work out of the director's office as well on Medicaid systems and our Medicaid policy and systems integration, rather. I'm happy to be here with you all, as I said, and if anybody has any questions or needs anything, just feel free to reach out.
So you'll be seeing Dana in your future meetings. So please make sure she's added. But just wanted to just in general share just a couple of things that are significant and will impact our personal support workers and the work related to that specific workforce. One is we are working on a joint project with Asian people with disabilities to do a recruitment campaign, a media campaign for workforce, both that is hired directly by individuals receiving services or the representatives, as well as just in general attracting more workforce into this field. As we know, there is a workforce shortage across caring industries, and so hopefully this recruitment and media campaign will help provide more visibility, more awareness about this field of work, and continue to attract more workers to support individuals with disabilities in Oregon. That's going to be an ARPA-funded project. We're really excited about it and hope it will be able to procure a contractor quickly and get that started. Another thing that we continue to experience challenges is the use of electronic visit verification systems by both personal support workers and home care workers. We've been working across APD and ODDS to develop some strategies to do some more communication around building awareness across workers on the requirement to use electronic visit verification systems, and where possible, having necessary exceptions if that's the circumstance that the worker finds themselves in. But we're definitely in desperate need of increasing our compliance with this federal requirement. Otherwise, we could potentially be facing some sanctions from Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services in terms of reduced funding from the federal government if we don't get our compliance levels in better shape. This year, we'll be seeing more communication coming out to workers around the need for compliance, and ultimately the state will need to start taking some actions around it. But we definitely want to be sure that workers have every possible opportunity to be aware of the requirement and come into compliance with this requirement before state has to take any more serious enforcement actions. Another thing is we've been sort of discussing previously is implementation of some of the previous session legislation and continuation of the discussions around development and design of new model called agency with choice. During the last legislative session, Senate Bill 104 directed the department to establish a contract, ODDS specifically, to establish a contract to provide additional supports to employers, to individuals who are employers of personal support workers, to support them better in fulfilling their employer responsibilities. That was in Senate Bill 104 called Agency with Choice. Now we transition in with the new bill, Senate Bill 1521, to call in that enhanced supports to employers of personal support workers, as well as some additional supports to the workers themselves with paperwork and other things in terms of enrolling into the system. The Senate Bill 1521 that is moving through this session is establishing a new approach to how we design agency with choice. It is directing the department to establish a new type of agency provider to be agency with choice, in which the individual and the agency are going to be co-employers of the worker. And I think there is a new name for the worker. And oh my gosh, Justin, can you remind me?
It is a direct support worker.
Okay, thank you. I got it right. And while the co-employer relationship is not going to be a legal one, but the individual will retain kind of a managing employer responsibilities within this arrangement. So individual will still have a high degree of self-direction and directing the services and the worker that's going to be supporting them through this agency with choice model. That model, if the legislation passes, what is it today? is targeted to be implemented on January 1st of 2026. So it's going to be a 2-year implementation road. We do expect that there might be some additional changes to the design and requirements around the agency with choice for the developmental disability, intellectual disability populations during the long legislative session, but we'll definitely see what that might be and continue to follow that, obviously, as we move closer and through the long legislative session next year. Any questions? And Justin, if you want to add anything in terms of like where our bills are on that.
Indeed. Yeah, I just wanted to note, we've talked a lot about House Bill 4129 here in the past, the APD, Agency with Choice, and the DD is a separate bill, a separate program. It has some different assumptions built into it. And I also wanted to note that it is part of Senate Bill 1521, which I mentioned earlier, because that also has the sprinkler extension language and the acuity-based staffing tool language. So those are all wrapped up into one big omnibus bill. And the agency with choice on the DD side costs a lot less. I think the union's motivations for pursuing this version of it are different than pursuing the APD version. So sort of a separate conversation, but very, very parallel concept.
Yeah. I think in general, there is a desire to see alignment across systems and how agency with choice will be designed across developmental disability systems and the Asian and people with disability systems. So the systems are not so confusing or different. I think definitely kind of similar principles and approaches are going to be important, and we're going to stay in close coordination with our partners at APD as we kind of move along and develop in these models. Ruth?
What came across my mind when this was first presented to us was what happened when the brokerages were started. And how are we going to make sure we don't fall in that same pit?
Yes, I mean that calls in some long history. Ultimately, originally, when brokerages were established, they were basically agencies with choice, because they were not only brokering or helping people utilize their individualized budgets, but they also were basically the fiscal intermediary and coordinators and enrollers of personal support workers. And some point in the past, then the union actually did request that a singular payroll system to be created. And that's what kind of pulled the individual fiscal intermediary functions out of the brokerages into a centralized contract. And we've gone through several contracts since that time. And I think there is definitely pros and cons to each approach. Obviously, brokerages had more local connections, more hands-on approaches to coordinating and enrolling personal support workers and paying them on time and those types of things. There are certain benefits to having it more centralized under one contract, but there is certainly not the same kind of local connection and individualized approach from a bigger kind of statewide contractor. So I think there is definitely something to learn. And I think this is what different between APD and DD agency with choice concepts right now is that and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, APD bill still calls for 1 or 2 contractors, which would move the agency towards creating 1 large statewide contract or 2 large statewide contracts potentially. DD bill does not have the same requirement, and it's as it currently stands would allow any willing and qualified provider to come in and enroll as agency with choice type, which might create a little bit more choice competition and coverage across the state and more local connection. But it's obviously hard to predict exactly how it's going to transpire in reality once we start moving to implementation. But yes, thank you for calling that into the space that there is a deep history there in DD system.
Yeah, and just to respond verbally instead of nodding my head, you are right that House Bill 4129, the APD agency with choice bill, does limit it to 2 agencies. And as we've talked about here before, I think SEIU is looking a lot at the Washington model and how they have 1 provider in that state that has set up kind of satellite offices in much the same way as APD has local offices that they rely on to do a lot of the on-the-ground work. So yeah, a big difference between the 2 agency with choice bills that are moving forward.
And this is Commissioner Adams. With the direct provider, is that going to follow underneath us to make sure that it's in right?
Could you clarify your question a little bit, please? You mean, is it going to be under oversight of the Home Care Commission, this agency with choice provider type?
Are we going to be overseeing the direct provider like we are with the PSWs and the...
Oh, gotcha. Well, unlike, that's another big difference between APD bill and the DD bill is that currently within the DD bill, there is no labor requirements for the workforce. I think there is definitely an interest from SEIU that the workforce employed by agency with choice is represented. However, that's not going to be the workforce that is currently personal support workers. So my understanding is that this new workforce is not going to be under purview of Home Care Commission, but I think the long-term goal is that it is represented by a CIU.
Yeah, that's correct. I think the bargaining partner, if they do wind up being represented, the bargaining partner for that workforce would be the agency with choice provider instead of the Home Care Commission.
Correct. And so I think those are the components that I expect to come up for further conversation and potentially further legislation in the long legislative session is the labor piece of the agency with choice workforce, as well as potentially some other things that haven't been put through into statute during this legislative session.
So how would they be getting their courses and classes?
I think in our conversation with the CIU, obviously it's going to be the responsibility of the agency to make sure the workforce is trained to the required standards. I think they did bring up the issue whether or not this workforce would also have access to, is it Karina courses as well. They definitely want that workforce to have access to that vendor, but I think ultimately it's going to be up to the agency to then contract or subcontract or figure out what access is going to look like for their workforce to other vendors that provide training opportunities. But it is ultimately going to be the responsibility of the agency to ensure the workforce is trained.
Ms. Chair, once this gets up and going, would allow us commissioners to look over the data on this? Or would we prefer to not look at the data at this once it's presented?
Well, I think this is something that we will have to keep a watch on and make sure that the people that we are here for are being served in a manner that meets their needs.
Okay.
And I have another question in that we have been reassured that consumers and advocates are going to have input in this, and they expect us to do it through the rule writing. And in so doing, when the Senate Bill 1534 in the past was so overrun with the SEIU people that we really didn't have that strong a voice in the room, and are concerned that this could happen to us again, that our concerns are not being met.
Yeah, thank you for raising that up. There is an expectation in the bill, and I think expectation of ourselves as our practice to engage individuals and specifically self-advocates and families that are utilizing these services in developing both these the agency-based choice model and its requirements, in developing rules and policies that's going to apply to this agency-based choice, as well as there's requirements around training to individuals and workers that will cover certain topics. And there's definitely an expectation that self-advocates and family members and others impacted by this are going to be engaged in the process. I think there is, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a specific language in the bill as to self-advocates engagement in training, development, etc.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm trying to remember all of the different versions of the bill that I've seen, but yes, I think that's in the final version.
Right. And I think, definitely we've learned a lot around how do we ensure that self-advocates and family members have a safe space to have their voices heard. So I think we're going to take that into consideration as we plan how we run rule advisory committees or work groups around this, so that people don't feel like their voices are being stifled by other more powerful community partners in the room. So like having separate self-advocacy work groups, etc. So we're definitely going to take that into consideration and plan around that.
Well, thank you. And we do expect you to come back on a regular basis and keep us informed. And it'll probably be Dana doing that for us, but we want to have, this is a very important part of our commission. And this is a place that we have had a breakdown because you have not had representation on our commission for some time now. And we feel that this is a big gaping hole that we would like to see filled so that we can make sure that we have that communication back and forth.
Thank you so much. Well, I think that was all of my updates for today. Once again, I just wanted to say, thank you for all your work. It's been a pleasure to, serve the state, serve people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families, and, obviously work with Jeannie and you guys and regularly come here for updates. I am very glad that I'm passing the baton to Dana. And she's going to be obviously coming back and presenting in the future, or then whoever is selected as the permanent ODDS director, but definitely want to thank each and every one of you for all your hard work and contributions to serving people with disabilities in Oregon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Anna, thank you for your leadership. We're going to miss you. And
Yes.
welcome, Dana.
Thank you, and have a good rest of your meeting. Appreciate
Thank you.
I'll be back. Good to see you all.
Okay.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, Heidi, we need the agenda back. There we go. So it's almost break time, but do you want to finish up, Jenny, on your report?
Sure, I can finish in 3 minutes. Okay, so winding down of the registry. So we've added a message to the OHCC registry directing consumer employers and Medicaid OPI providers to Carina. And newly enrolled providers will register with Carina and won't be available for referral on our registry. But our registry will still be available to the community, and the workers who have indicated they will serve private pay individuals are still on the registry. Information about how to register and how to use Carina is going to be mailed to consumers. So Carina has a whole training, basically a training guide for consumers that we're going to send. So as an educational opportunity, so people have something in their hands that they can read and refer to on how to use Carina. And then with the Employer Resource Connection Program, we are issuing a request for application this month. And there are some good changes to the program, which includes more of a focus on person-centered services for consumer employers by removing the cap on the number of hours they can receive from a consultant. Right now that it's a certain number, but we said this really needs to be more person-centered and based on the needs of the individual. So one person may need less hours, one person may need more. It may be more time needed to work with that individual, work with the case manager, and help that person get exactly what they need. We're also going to be paying contractors their time to complete required reports and billing and a slightly higher rate for services. So excited about the changes for that program. And then lastly, there was a community outreach event, the second annual Refugee and Immigrant Resource Fair. And Masara Iwaz Ransom, Krishana Zuniga, and Susan Whitley from our team attended the second annual Resource Fair for Refugees and Immigrants, hosted by Lutheran Community Services Northwest and OHSU. There were over 700 attendees, and self-sufficiency wasn't at that event, so our team really spent a lot of time talking to individuals, helping them get connected with the resources they need. So it even went beyond what the Oregon Home Care Commission provides, and they really went a step further. So I want to thank them for representing the commission so well. And that is the end of my report.
Okay. Any questions for Jenny?
Yeah, Jenny, this is Commissioner Adams. How well did you think it went? And do you think that it gave us an image of the direction we're going, given or at least let the 700 attendees know who we are?
Oh, I think it went really well. The feedback I received from the team is that it went really well. There was a lot of visibility. We had a lot of resources available, and then they got to meet the commission staff. So I think it was a very positive event, positive interaction.
Paul has a question for you.
Yeah, Jenny, real quick. And you may have stated this. How do you feel the status currently is for our recruiting of new commissioners? Are we in process, in dialogue with anyone particularly? I did submit a name, but I won't state it right now. But is there any updates on our recruitment of commissioners? And then also I was with the ODDS, maybe with Dana, I wondered if maybe the next meeting, this isn't just for Jenny, if we can have a conversation with Dana and just really kind of describe what we're looking for and try to get some action so we can have that ODDS representation. But in general, how is the recruiting going in your opinion?
Well, I think it's all part of the strategic plan. And so there hasn't been a real focused effort, but I think with the strategic plan, there will be. And one of the things that I've brought forward to the agency that we would need to, I was hoping that they would add to a legislative concept, and they may have, I need to follow up on it, is asking the legislature to expand the representation on the commission. That was something that I heard the commissioner say that they would like to be able to have more representation on the team from DD and Health Systems Division and other individuals. So I'm really hoping that that goes forward. And if it doesn't this time, we will continue to try to move that forward.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping that when we get to where we can have a program to share with the legislators, that this would be a part of that, what we wanted to share with the legislators.
Yes. Yes, and I will count on some of the commissioners to go with me to the legislature so you can educate them on what the commission does and your role as a commissioner.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Mayor. I just have an overall question. Until I got involved in these commissions through some friends of mine who were on other commissions, I didn't know anything about, these like this one, the GCSS, just the only one I knew was the advisory committee for the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs. How does the governor's office advertise for people to sign up for commissions? Do they do anything like that? It seems to me like it's just kind of a big secret. And, one person tells another person who tells another person, and that's the only reason that people know any of these commissions exist. And this is really, really important work we're doing. I don't know, and I'm not trying to rail against you, but I'm just very frustrated because there's so much going on, and I know some people that may be interested, and I'm trying to get to them. But how does the governor go forth and ask? And the other thing is, go ahead, Ruth. I'm sorry.
The governor before this one worked on drawing all the different commissions and boards together into one room. And this was some of the same questions. But when that governor left, then that program died. And nothing has been done since on how to beef up the boards and commissions and get something really going on it. And so that's something that probably we need to figure out who the key person is and try to work with them to show them the need to make sure that boards and commissions are known and that what they do is known to the people.
Yeah, and a follow-up on that is, and when you do apply for a board, you never hear. You put the thing in Workday and you never hear, like, we received your thing, we're working it. It just goes into this hole. So anyway, thank you.
I know when I talk about my Oregon service, most people assume that I go to town halls once in a while. They have no concept that there's anything larger going on.
Exactly. That's true, Marcia. So true.
Thank you, Jenny, for your report, and it's been very educational for us.
Yes. Heidi, may I ask if you could send all the links that Matt gave us and Paul into email?
Marcia, we've already got that going. She's already got it all set up and ready for us.
Beautiful.
Great.
Okay, we are at a break time, and We got until 12:15, so I need you back here by 12:15.
Yes, ma'am.
Or we'll start without you.
Will the recording be off?
I don't know. That's Heidi would have to answer that one for us.
Hi, Molly. We're just coming back in break in a couple of minutes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I think we're pretty much all back if we want to go ahead and get started. So we will ask, I don't know which one you're going to present first, but so go ahead and introduce yourselves and what part you play.
Great. Grace is going to start us off, and then I'll jump.
Thank you, Molly. And sorry, I just entered the meeting. And good afternoon, everyone. This is Grace with CareWell Benefits. My title is like outreach education liaison. We're just going to start with who we are, and basically we just walk through this report that we share with you. So I would just start with who we are, and then I would let Molly to go through who we are as the CareWell training and the highlights of CareWell training. Probably if Molly, you would like to do the Q&A for CareWell training, and then you can hand it back to me. I will go through the highlights of the CareWell benefits. All right, so who we are. Would you mind to slide down a little bit of the slide, please? All right, here. So CareWell SEIU is a family of training and benefits developed by 3 labor management trusts: the Oregon Home Care Workers Supplemental Trust, Oregon Home Care Workers Benefit Trust, and the Training Partnership. With the supplemental trust, basically the administrated healthcare cost assistance for 2 good people, right? That whether they have Medicare or enroll in a trust approved plan, also plus their working hours made them eligible. And a really good news for 2024, right? The out-of-pocket purse, that amount that people can get is going up to $7,165. Slide down the slide a little bit, please. With the benefit trust, basically it administers the benefit, including dental, vision, employee assistance program, and paid time off. All right, and right now I'm going to let Molly to talk about who is CareWell training and the highlights of that. Thank you, Molly.
Thanks, Grace. Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Malone. I have joined you all before, but I'm the director of CareWell training at Rise Partnership. And I think you all know, but as a reminder, CareWell training administers mandatory new worker training for incoming in-home providers, and that's home care workers, personal support workers, as well as personal care attendants. And we all are charged with the continuing education component who are not receiving a certification through OHCC. So those providers are exempt from the continuing education requirement through CareWell training. But for those who aren't, which is the majority of providers, we are responsible for that program as well, which will become a mandatory requirement in March 2026. I think one thing, I'll just highlight a couple things. We trained about 7,000 new workers last year in 2023. So we're just coming off of kind of our annual check-in on how did 2023 go, and what can we learn from that and improve on. I'll say with nearly 7,000 that went through the orientation, we had about 73% of those complete their entire new worker training requirement. So a big goal of ours for 2024 is to increase the completion rates and to learn information about why providers might not be completing their new worker training. So right now we get very little data from providers on why they don't continue, and if that's a choice they're making based on what they learn at orientation, or maybe perhaps because they can't find a client or consumer. We want to learn all that so that we can address, create supports and address those issues to hopefully increase that completion rate and get more providers in the system providing care, which we all know we desperately need. although continuing education, as you all know, was delayed, the implementation until 2026, we did launch in April of last year. And so far to date have, I think, slightly over 3,000 providers who have completed their continuing education requirement. And we'll be working this year both to increase that number. We're really trying to avoid hitting a big wall in 2026 of a bunch of providers who are due. And so we're trying to get folks to complete as soon as they can, knowing that they do have time if they need to wait to complete. But we are at about 3,000 providers who have already completed their continuing education requirement. And then I'll just share one more thing that's not in this report that is related to our goal of getting providers, raising our completion rates for both new worker and continuing education. Our training trust board of trustees has approved a new benefit for home care workers, for CareWell trust eligible home care workers, that will provide them with a new pair of slip resistant, high quality shoes when they finish their training requirement. So we've already sent out over 1,000 pairs of new shoes to folks who have finished either their continuing education or new worker requirement. And we hope that as that program continues to grow, it's been very popular so far. Lots of folks sharing about it, sharing pictures of their new shoes on Facebook and all over the place. We're hoping that that will be just one more incentive in addition to stipends and, you know, being a full-fledged provider, that folks will be able to, that will incentivize them to complete their training. So we're really excited about that new program. Not to mention just the benefit of having a really high quality pair of slip resistant shoes, which I know is for many folks the first pair of like high quality work shoes they've been able to have, and at no cost to them. So we're really excited about it. And we'll share more updates as we have them. And before I hand it back over to Grace, or I can open it up for questions as well, Jenny's invited me back in April to talk to you all about continuing education, and again, get some ideas from you all on what will be helpful continuing education topics for us to develop as we build out a more robust curriculum catalog. So we'll have some discussion questions there, but in the meantime, I wanted to just plant that seed so you all can be thinking about it when we come back and have that discussion in April. Are there any questions on the training component before I pass it over to Grace? All right, Grace, back to you.
Thank you, Molly. All right, so just a quick reminder, go up a little bit, sorry. A reminder for Medicare premium reimbursement that is under the healthcare cost assistance benefit, right? The amount for Part B premium is up to $174.70 per month. Probably we still have a good of people that are not aware of that. If you encounter any people, they are part of that program, please ask them to submit the reimbursement. With the current benefit enrollment numbers, like we mentioned about that good of benefits, we have like dental vision employee assistance program, healthcare cost assistance, including benefit to Medicare population and the people with the marketplace plan. And the last piece is the paid time off. We like every day, you know, we see an increasing amount of people are getting those benefits. Right now, I'm also leading to talk about the updates about the new PTO. I want to remind you, our newly eligibility system started as of last year, January 2023, that make it really easy for care provider to earn the benefits. Every 20 hours of work each month, right? They can get 1 hour of PTO, and the maximum they can get a month is 4 hours. The minimum amount for them to request the PTO is 8 hours. It's really excited, you know, just for people to be aware of this new benefit. Just over the last year, we already get 29,000 care provider are receiving the PTO. Another reminder, W-9 is very critical paperwork for people to really cash out their PTO. If they do not have the W-9 on file, or the benefit only can save up to 12 months. So a reminder, right, for everybody who started doing this work to submit their W-9, even though they're not yet eligible to be PTO. Next, please. Slide down a little bit. Awesome. All right. A quick update on Carina. As you guys know, right, Carina is a matching system for care provider and consumer client to be there to look for just to look for a match. Last year, Carina is already reached out to statewide, and they are available for 2 languages right now. One is English and another one is Spanish. Providers and also have the option to mark themselves available now and available soon. Also unavailable, but the unavailable will not be like available during the search result. Right now, Carina is working on really trying to add in another piece of language. I believe this year they're focused on working on this and likely will be launched in 2025. Another thing this year they are trying to work on is the agenda piece is the gender piece of the information. They really want to be more inclusive and equitable to the good of people, maybe like LGBTQ. So stay tuned for that piece of information coming up to you. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. You're doing well, helping us to manage the slide. All right. Here, we are talking about the open enrollment. This is really related to the medical, right? The people going to the marketplace to get a plan. We went through our 11th open enrollment. We did a lot of great success there. Last year, we implemented the new process and really streamlined the new enrollment process because we adapted the new PTA, the third-party administrator, leading like we have at least 20% of the growth in our new enrollment for people getting medical insurance, and also overall, including the renewal population, you know, we also have that amount of growth. Very exciting. Okay. And this part, HCA, it represents healthcare cost assistance. APTC is the tax credit. Tax credit is more like the tax credit from the federal marketplace to lower their premium, right? And the income update. Pretty much tax credit and income update, they're related to each other. You know, at the beginning of the time, they put on the application to file to get medical insurance. A question will be asked, what is your household's income, right? So at the time they file, the filling out the application, they only put down the projected yearly income, right? Sometimes, as you know, like care provider, their jobs always change. So we just highly recommend people anytime if they have an income change, they should just reach out to us and we'll be able to assist them to arrange to update their income, and also their tax credit most likely will be changed. So back in, actually it's right now, you know, we're reaching out to a group of people will be relevant to this piece to remind them to update their income on the application. All right, next. All right, this one, I believe you guys know about this. It's MyCareWell 503. This is the online tool. Currently is only available in English, right? It's a online benefit managerial tool. Care provider can go there to register their own account, and they will be able to see the hours they're reported. They will be able to see their pay time or payment status or healthcare cost assistance, like reimbursement payment status. and other stuff they will be able to, right? Like the dental vision employee assistance program benefits. We highly recommend if you know anybody, a care provider, and utilize this. And we already have like, I think more than 42% of the populations are registered in this tool and will be able to manage their benefits on their own. That is really awesome. Slide down. All right, so this is the last point. Sorry, I talk a lot here. The last point is our education events. This one is a little bit different than the KeerWell training. This is more like benefit information, educational, and connection event, you know. This is just an overview of last year, what we have done for those. We assisted 1645 care providers through a lot of different platforms, like the one we facilitated. We put up 18 statewide from July 2023 to January 2024. And also we have other opportunity to get connect with like potential care providers, like the one we had with Karina. We joined the event. It's just like a job fair from, you know, the Monoma County personal support worker job fair, something like that. So we table there and help people to understand about the program. Another one is like we also join like different SEIU organizers regional meeting, you know, to let the current care providers to be aware of the benefits. Going back to the one we facilitate the 18 statewide in-person education event, those events like we have a room, you know, we invite pretty much different care providers, our partner agent, Valley Insurance professional, and just help them to do case management and benefit education. With this part, actually our goal for next year is really hoping we can invite more relevant parties to be there, maybe KeerWell training, you know. I think if you guys can be there, they'd be super glad you're there to help them to navigate your training system. I don't know, is it possible we can have OHCC to be there as well, right? To let people to know how to start as a care provider. I think that is great. And the last part, I think we can also invite maybe SEIU or other benefits to let people to be aware of. So that is really the goal moving forward we're trying to do. I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions about KeerWell benefits or even KeerWell training? Because Molly's still here. I believe she can help you to answer those questions.
Grace, this is Commissioner Adams. You were saying something about the program, about insurance.
Okay.
Now, if a state provider goes into a marketplace, how can they be helped by KeerWell?
Okay.
Have money to pay for their insurance?
So I would say there are two parts, right? How to get help. I would recommend them to call the Member Assistance Center, or if they are computer savvy, they can go to the KeerWell web page. You'll find healthcare cost assistance. Under there, we find approved marketplace plan. If they will be able to navigate it on their own, right? We listed all the information. Otherwise, just call the Member Assistance Center. Basically, we will screen the situation to see if they're eligible to go to the marketplace to get a plan. As you may know, right now is not the open enrollment period, right? Just to reiterate as well, KeerWell benefit does not provide employer insurance, right? That's why we need to do those screening. If we get through everything, we screen people based on their hours eligibility and also if they are able to get a marketplace plan. These two elements put together. And the benefits they can get including two parts. One is the premium. the premium will be assisting is 100% net premium. The net premium is the gross premium deducted by tax credit. The tax credit is the subsidy from the marketplace to lower their gross premium. For example, your gross premium may be $500, right? And your tax credit may be $300. And the bill you're getting from your insurance company, it says $200. That is the amount due you need to pay to activate or maintain your insurance. So that $200 is the amount we are assisting. Okay, that is one part of the benefit. Another part is the out-of-pocket expenses. Like, you know, if you have an insurance, medical insurance through Kaiser, you can use that out-of-pocket expenses amount to pay any kind of out-of-pocket, like co-payment, co-insurance, deductible, and prescription is relevant to that plan. I don't know, did I answer your question, George? Did I?
I know of a state provider
Okay.
and was referred to Marketplace and can't afford the insurance. So that's why CareWell has some kind of an assistance to help this person to be insurance.
Yeah. But he still need to go to the marketplace to get a plan. Do you happen to know his contact information? I can reach out to him to walk him through.
It's not a him, it's a her.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, do you know that person's information? Let's see, is there like you don't have a Q&A box?
George, if you provide Heidi and I that information, we can forward it to Grace. I'd rather not be part of the public meeting.
That's why I wasn't going to put in public meeting anyway.
That's a good idea. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, please do that way. Okay.
Yes, I was concerned too that, George, we do not give out that kind of information during the meetings.
I don't do that anyway.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
There is one more question. It's not insurance related. The advanced courses. There seems to be not a course being taught here in Medford. Is there a reason why?
George, are you talking about the advanced courses for certifications through OHCC or this continuing education through CareWell?
It's an advanced course where it treats an upper para and quad for special service and gets paid a different wage. There is no indication that there's a class here in Medford.
George, we can follow up with Roberta. That is one of our certification training courses.
Okay, because they're willing to do it, they just can't find it here in Medford.
Okay.
I think
Ruth is on mute if you're.
Thank you for your presentation. And this is a lot of information for us to digest. And thank you for being available to us so that we can have you come back and keep us informed so that we can make better decisions.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Molly
for having
and Grace.
us.
Okay, so now we have Roberta, are you there?
Yes. Yes, I am. Oops. Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. Let me change my viewing on my screen. Okay. One moment. I'm going to rearrange my screen here. Okay, and today I am requesting approval for an update of our CPR first aid certification policy. I hope that you all received it already. And there are some changes. We have an existing policy and we've added to it. And I've highlighted some of the changes that were added to. And I'm asking that that you will agree to approve the changes. And I would be happy to go over it in detail if you would like me to, or if you've already read it and you feel comfortable with just going forward, please let me know what your preference is. Would you like me to go over it in detail?
Roberta, could you just maybe summarize, not go into detail, but say
sure.
Changes,
Yes.
A summary of the changes, please?
Yeah, absolutely. The changes to the policy is I added at the very beginning, this opening paragraph is new. It's just explaining that the Oregon Home Care Commission does have a CPR first aid certification program, the length of the certification, and that the providers are eligible to reapply for a renewal afterwards. That's new. And we added specifically, we clarified a lot of language in it so that it's clear for the providers that they have, this is already was in there. They have to have an active provider number. We added, this is new, the learning management system. They're going to register for the courses through, register to let us know they want a CPR first aid card through the learning management system, which is PACE. That's new. And then we also added that from the time we give them the complete the CPR within the 6 months from the time we approve them. So once we approve them, they need to get their CPR first aid, and they have 6 months to do so. Otherwise, they need to reapply. And then the program requirements, we detailed out to make it clear for everyone so they understand what all the parameters of the program are. And explaining also with the virtual CPR is now available that from the time they start, it's a 2-part virtual, from the time they start till the time they finish, there's a, that they have a period of time of 60 days. And that's new. We have not had that in policy before. We have a lot of students that take part 1 and they never sign up for part 2. And we spend a lot of time trying to communicate and contact them to get them to sign up to part 2. If we have this in policy, we felt that was a reasonable amount of time for them to finish, sign up, and do their virtual skills assessment. And then on the bottom part, we made it very clear that the student needs to be pre-approved to take the class. There's no reimbursement if they sign up on their own. The instructor has to be pre-approved. We do use vendors around the state. We don't always use a contract instructor. The course itself, if it's a classroom setting, that has to be pre-approved. So we separated out and made it as clear as we could so there's no misunderstanding. So those are the highlights of the changes.
Thank you. Those are helpful.
Great. And we did get, I was going to add, the DDMH committee yesterday did approve.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve this information related to this course as presented before us on the screen and described by Roberta.
I second the motion, Commissioner Mayer.
Thank you. Any further discussions?
I do have a question.
Hey,
go ahead, George.
Roberta.
Yes.
If a person has already had the training,
yes,
before they enter into the Home Care Commission classes,
yes,
like if they've been trained 5 years ago in CPR,
okay,
would they have to do, would they be required in this 6 months or 60 days and still take this class?
Thanks, George. That's a great question. If they have a current CPR first aid course that has a skilled and they demonstrated skills in CPR and it's a current card, they do not have to take our class. They can't receive their training outside of our program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you got your. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And now David had something that he wanted to present. Did we lose him?
No, David's right here.
Okay.
He does have something he wants to present, that he's showing off your hard work and all that you put into getting us to this place of having a strategic development plan to guide us and to kind of direct what we're looking towards for the next few years. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Not really quickly. It may take me forever. Who knows? Actually, I'm pretty good with Zoom. So there we go. So we're going to just start. Thank you all for just all the work you put into this, your recent reviews and comments on the latest round. I incorporated all of that where it was pertinent. So we expanded some of the words, made it clearer. I somehow missed putting choice into our vision and safety and health. And so those were incorporated. So just to really quickly, I'm just going to read the vision for us again, the mission, and then I'll read each of the goals that were identified by all of you for this strategic plan. The vision of this is to be a leading authority in the provision of in-home care services, ensuring accessible, person-centered care that promotes choice, dignity, health, independence, safety, and well-being for all Oregonians. The mission to get to that vision: the Oregon Home Care Commission strives to be a leader in comprehensive, compassionate, professional, and reliable in-home care services to individuals while supporting, training, and valuing the home care workforce. Your identified goals. I won't go into each objective, but I will read the goals. Goal number 1, expanding awareness and knowledge of OHCC across Oregon. Lots of ways to help us do that. Goal number 2, strengthening relationships with partner agencies. Our third goal, which has already been mentioned here today, achieving full representation of appointed commissioners with a focus on diversity. Our fourth goal, to foster collaboration with those we serve. And our final 5th goal, to evaluate, enhance, expand, and support the programs OHCC is currently doing. So again, thank you all. These were your identified targets for the next few years. And we've got lots of ways to really look forward to doing that. Obviously, we have conversations coming up in the future about who will be assigned to this work, how all of you will be helping guide some of these and contributing to them. I look forward to working with you all more in that regard and getting to really see OHCC move in a beautiful way that you are all directing as the commissioners. So Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, David, your work is admirable and excellent. Appreciate it so much. And I just would say to myself, as well as to my fellow commissioners, there's such exciting ideas here and opportunities for us. I think this is going to kind of redefine, to a degree, the role of a commissioner. because we will not just come and to our monthly meetings and hear wonderful presentations like we have today in discussion. But between those meetings and at other times, this schedule, we're going to have a chance to get our hands directly involved, I think, in promoting and working. So I really am pleased working with the staff, with Ginny, with Ruth, to see how each of us, based on our time and our other responsibilities, can really make an impact for the commission as we put these goals into effect. So I'm pleased, and thank you again, David, for your hard work.
Thanks for that, Paul. I really appreciate that.
And I also would like to say I am very proud of this commission in the way that they jumped in with both feet, and the time and the work that was put in to create this document. And I think that with the way the commission put forth so much energy to prepare this document, that we have a lot of hope that this document will be enforced and the goals in it will be reached. Anybody else have any comments? Yes.
I would like to reread and think in light of what we now know about agency with choice. It took us a long while to develop this plan. I just would like to see if, with the current knowledge of agency with choice, some other words pop into my mind that would just pop into my, who knows what would pop into my mind. Are we supposed to be approving this as a final document today?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Jenny was going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that is the goal, is to approve it so that we can start implementing it. So the longer it takes us to approve it, it's going to take us a little bit longer to start implementing. So as soon as you approve it, we can start assigning staff to work on these tasks.
Well, then I would like to move that we approve the strategic plan as presented. And this is Commissioner Mayer.
Commissioner Adams will second it.
But can we put some kind of a caveat in it that would be available for changes for the future if we need to?
I think that that's inherent in just approving this, because every plan, I think it's inherent that it's a dynamic document. And so, that as we go through it, we may want to revise it in some sense.
Okay.
So, I don't think that we need to do that. It shouldn't be locked in stone.
Okay.
Okay. I'm happy then.
That's okay with you, Marcia?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay. Then I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And once again, I do thank the commissioners for the hard work and how much was put forth to get this document done. Paul?
Just real quickly, Madam Chair, it's my understanding as well that at most meetings coming up, we're going to have just a brief, maybe David report, keep us a progress report on the implementation of this strategic plan, just so that we don't lose track of what we're doing and how we're doing it, when we're doing it, etc. Is that true? We're going to be from now moving forward having updates regularly at our commission meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll probably even be hearing more from me, Paul, outside of our commission meetings. So I hope all of you are ready for more of me. Yeah. Jenny's trying to unload some of that. So thank you, everyone. And again, just this is amazing work, and I hope all of you feel ownership of it, because this came from all of your ideas, all of your discussions, all of your dreams, and where you're going, where you want to see Oregonians taken care of and supported and allowed to thrive. And so I just want to thank all of you for that. So,
well, David, I would like to thank you as well, for this Herculean effort that you've done in supporting us. And I just had a question. I know that you asked for inputs. Did you receive quality inputs, hopefully, from all of us?
yes, yeah. Not everyone had the time, obviously. I know that it was a big document. I love how it expanded over our time together and everything. So everyone has contributed throughout the entire time of building this. So the last final edits caught some of my spelling mistakes, because sometimes I just start spelling really fast. So I do appreciate those ones especially.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And this is Jenny. For full transparency, I would like to add this document to our website about the commission.
That's
And I
nice.
think that would help educate people too about what we do and why we do it.
And
Well,
can we get a cleaned up version also?
Yes.
On the email? Thank you.
Well, and this too, I think, would need to be part of the education packet that we use in educating the legislators as to who we are and where we're going.
Yeah, great.
And Ruth, as I said last time, I think that presentation that you presented to all of us, about who we are as OHCC, I think that presentation is wonderful as well.
Thank you. I just wanted to revise the end where it asks for questions, and then I'll have it posted.
Oh,
right. Okay.
Okay. David, with this document, I would like to suggest to the chair if we could somehow, with this document, add it to our commissioner manual.
Mm.
So when we do get commissioners, new ones, they will have access to it in their manuals.
And to add on, excuse me.
Then that would be really a part of our orientation for new members, so they know when they're coming in, this is what we expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Ruth, I think before you would present a new commissioner with the plan, that you should start with that orientation brief, that command brief, as it were, because that really tells who we are, the whole business. And then moving on, then this is our strategic plan. And I think those two documents should be included in any kind of orientation or training.
And we can include that in like an onboarding packet of information. My concern about taking and putting the strategic plan in the manual is that the strategic plan is a living document, and that would require like continuous update of the manual.
Right.
Or you may want it on your website, and just have the link in your manual, and then we have the updated everything, on the link.
Either that or an addendum to the manual. So we can just update the plan and not have to worry about the whole manual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings me to, when are we going to get another updated manual for us?
Give us time. Give us time. Because that takes a while, and Jenny's still getting her feet wet in the water. So it'll come. So there's nothing further than I would close this meeting so that we can go to the next meeting. So thank you all for your participation today, and I'll see you in a couple more minutes.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.